Hi everyone, this is Ankit,
This is Mira.
and welcome again to the Leaving Footprints podcast. On this podcast, we talk to different individuals with a variety of professional backgrounds to provide our listeners with insights into different fields.
Hello. So I'm super excited for today's conversation with Alex. So I came across Alex's IG maybe a few years ago because I was super into following radio when I was a fangirl. And he runs a really awesome page where he shows like his adventures with food and his bike rides in the Bay Area. He currently works as a promotion specialist in radio, and I'm really excited to learn about his career in radio so far. So to begin with, Alex, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your career?
So my name's Alex Harmon. I'm a promotion specialist at some of our local radio stations here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been working in radio for about 7 years now. I started as an intern from college. I worked my way up to street team, ended up getting more into the office with the promotions department, assistant promotions director with various duties. I ended up, once we came to a different company, I ended up growing more with a few other of the radio stations and then grew from there. I'm mostly behind the scenes, but however, I do love to work with the DJs and get on and do stuff with them on air, try to be open to various things. If they want me to voice a commercial, feel free. But for the most part, my role is mostly behind the scenes. My role is mostly the marketing promotions side of the radio business. So the fun and games, the contest ways, just the merchant, the station swag, the setting up the tents and helping out the street team out with various events and our clients. Prior to working in radio, I went to my local community college, Chabot College in Hayward, which is in the Bay Area. I focused a lot on mass communication, so I took some journalism classes, I took some TV classes, got into radio classes, and then from there, I got into radio, working in radio as an intern at 99.7 Now, and then from there I grew, and here I am today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I remember you from 99.7 because I used to like really follow them like during One Direction and stuff like that. So
it was a fun time, and I was actually the intern for the night DJ.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow!
It was very, especially at nighttime. It's very active with that group of fans, like young high schoolers, and just it's so. Because I remember being a young person myself, loving radio and calling the DJs or trying to win contests, but I never. But now it's kind of cool being on the other side of it and just bringing that same joy to the next generation. It's really fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you were describing what you do, like that's one of the most important things for me was that experience. Like, you know, going to a concert and there's like a booth there with the radio show, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like talking to the radio people, and you guys always have like contests and stuff, and it's just such an exciting thing and such an important part of radio, I feel like.
I always say it's a big part of Bay Area culture. Like, not even just Bay Area culture, but like I think the local radio stations are a part of your local culture. Like when they're in SoCal, I'm sure the LA stations are a big part of your LA culture. It's something you could relate to. These people that are on the radio or your neighbors. But we all love music, and it brings us all together.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So you were talking about kind of like the joys of radio. What made you want to get into the field of like communications and radio, and like even the marketing aspect? Like what kind of like attracted you to that?
So for me personally, I've always been into some kind of mass media. I grew up reading the newspaper a lot. My dad was a pressman for one of the local newspapers, so he used to like bring home the newspaper a lot. I got into it, and I always say that was like my introduction to like media as a kid. And then I also listened to radio a lot. Like I didn't have a TV all the time in my room as a kid, but the radio was always on. I would listen to the radio. I'd always have it on in the car. Get to know the DJs. They become a part of like your lifestyle and your everyday life. And at the same time, I've also always been into representing my community and putting out like local stuff and spots. And it kind of all comes together when you want to be in marketing and promotions and radio. So it's like you're out there in the streets, you're out there interacting with the people. It all kind of intertwines and comes together a bit.
Agreed.
And then in high school, and then as growing up too, I also volunteered a lot. So I did like a lot of local community stuff, and it all kind of, I love how to today working in radio, it all kind of comes together. Like We work with various community groups, and we put together events, and then it all links back to the radio station.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think it's important to, be involved in the community and giving back. And I definitely see how radio helps with that because your community is listening to what you're providing them. So that's really awesome. I was going to ask you actually, because I know like on your IG, you post a lot about Bay Area spots that you kind of mentioned earlier. Can you tell us a little bit about like your platform and how you like to use it, like for the better for the community, I guess?
So on my social media, it's always kind of had a good theme of my adventures, local spots, whether it's food or whether it's a good hike spot. I've always it's always been something I love to live the lifestyle of, and of course use my platform for it. And I try to I know I'm from a specific part of the Bay Area, but I try to expand outside of that. But with COVID a lot lately, COVID and how it affected our economy,
right.
I try to represent like more of the local spots. Like, let's go hit up our local coffee shop. I'll show it off on Instagram or my social media platforms. Get people to come and support them, and not even businesses. I love another hobby of mine is I love like recreation and getting on my bike, getting on a hike. And with COVID and how everything has been social distance, that's been that's been a popular activity. Doing and putting out those, like, here's a good bike spot. I did a 12-mile bike ride. Check out the spot in Pleasanton. Just motivate people to get out there and do our thing. Make the best out of the situation that we're in. We're not having fun during. Let's make the best out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, support our local places.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because, like, especially with COVID, we'll all kind of just have to make best of what we have at this point. And I think I think your platform is a great way to kind of share what you have experienced. And especially with small businesses, a lot of people have suffered, like, in terms of their finance and everything. So supporting small businesses, especially during this time, is like extremely essential.
I appreciate that. And there's so many, we're all going through something right now, whether it's your mental health, whether it's your financial situation, whether it's just finding something to do because all your activities that you like to do are off limits right now. You got to make the best out of it. And I, at least with my platform, I try to at least help us make the best out of this situation.
Yeah.
So oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and also it all kind of intertwines back to radio or working where I do what I do, because some of the things we've done during COVID, we had a platform where we set up small businesses, give them shout outs, and give them a platform on our websites. That was a big part of, we have people contribute, and it all comes, it's a way that radio plays in the community as well during COVID. Just, we talk about it on the radio, like how to get through things and how to make the best out of situations. And there's even times when some of my adventures, I'm like, this is appropriate for the station social media. I'll post it on this. So it all comes back, it all intertwines somehow.
Yeah, I never really thought about in the aspect of COVID. Like, I think it's a really powerful, not just your platform, but also radio with helping small businesses get more recognition. Like, I think that's really amazing that you could be a part of that.
Agreed. Yeah. So kind of talking about COVID again, radio seems like a field where communication is necessary, and moreover, like face-to-face interaction is kind of like essential over there. So how has of course, COVID has impacted this aspect of like the face-to-face interaction of COVID, but has it been difficult to adapt for you, and like what changes would you have to make in terms of that?
So working at a radio station, like my job's kind of close to like what you would consider like a 9-to-5 office job. And we do communicate a lot via email already. But however, we as regular communicators, we're very good at communicating with each other in person. Just getting used to the whole being away from each other kind of vibe was kind of like hard to get used to. We were, I wasn't personally a Zoomer or a FaceTimer.
Yeah.
So I was like getting used to talking to people virtually was pretty a learning experience for myself.
Right.
And having to bring my job to my house was a trippy kind of used to working, especially in my department. We're putting together the events, we're putting the contests, and that's a lot of in-person interaction, and not having that and having to adapt to virtual ways was a learning experience myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, just sorry about that.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think definitely like to the point of we have school on Zoom. Like that's what it's been. Like I think you mentioned like me and Ankit had never met before, and it's crazy because the first couple of times I had to join Zoom class, I had so much anxiety. And it's just like such a weird experience, but I'm sure like even working, it's if you've never really like used Zoom or anything, it's definitely difficult. And then bringing that home, like, have
Mhm.
you had like a hard time kind of turning off work and going back to life? I know like since you do a lot of adventures, like that also helps with just getting outside of your house and outside of that work kind of vibe.
I will admit, working from home has got me to adapt to a new way because
Mhm.
I live in the East Bay, and then San Francisco is actually across the water, and it kind of you have to commute and have a good routine every.
Mhm.
Getting that 4 hours that I'll normally be commuting around
Yeah.
is kind of like I get that 4 hours back in my life. So it's kind of it has pros and cons, and I've been using that extra time to maybe get out and go for a walk, get out and do something, rest my mind. Because with everything kind of coming into your house, you have
Yeah.
your little haven. Like you have to find your little getaway sometimes because when work comes to your house, it's kind of like whoa, like I need to have divide my time a little more. So my daily routine has changed a whole lot, and it's just making the best out of it.
Yeah, I bet it's maybe nice to not have to commute right now. So
Oh, it's nice. And then when I do commute, like today, I did come to work, but it's more of a breeze now. It's not
yeah.
having to get on BART, having to make sure I find parking, make sure I get to work on time, and then do it again on the way back. They have to deal with BART delays, but then also that was also what I do miss. That was part of my adventures. That
Yeah.
part of
Yeah.
I made my adventures kind of every day, not so much just the weekend because I was already getting out every
Yeah.
go to work.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking that also because even just going on BART is a whole adventure in itself sometimes. So
That I realized that was a good part of my content on social,
yeah.
and even like coming to work and we'll talk about it at work. Then it may even be a radio. Like it was just writing BART every day was something.
Yeah, actually, that's interesting because I feel like now I don't really have much to talk about, like in general, because I don't leave the house. So with
Yeah.
radio, I'm sure that can be kind of difficult because you kind of talk about your day and what's going on around the world. So, but I think
Yeah,
there's
but
plenty going on around the world. So,
we can all relate to what's going on right now and
yeah,
somehow. So when radio talks about what's going on with COVID and stuff, we all can relate somehow. It's just
yeah,
the same old everyday stuff we were used to.
hmm, agreed.
So I'm not like I think like both Meena and I were kind of like not privy to like what challenges and hurdles you might have faced with a career in the radio. So can you tell us about any hurdles you might have overcome and any instances you're most proud of your success in the field?
So coming up and trying to get a job in radio, I was going to college and trying to I got an internship, but at the same time I had to work and I had to take classes. So having to do and then having to have a healthy work balance school life was kind of a struggle because I wasn't getting paid as an intern, but
Mhm.
to make money to even get to work and also just to live life and pay my bills and do things in general.
Yeah.
Having to get that and then dedicate time to the radio station just to get a job, just to get a job on the street too.
Yeah,
And then from this, and then just that was kind of a hurdle for myself personally. But I feel like to each its own. As long as you make some healthy work life school balance and make time for it, you're gonna get what you want. And
Agreed.
I got a job on the street, just being a street teamer. I was proud just to say, oh, I finally got a job at the radio station. Felt good, like, and then you grow from there.
yeah, that's really
Yeah.
exciting. I think like I definitely have a hard time making that balance with school and life. So it's really good advice to give to find that balance. It's very important.
Especially today with modern society and bringing school home with
Mhm.
you, and you have to find that healthy work life school
Yeah.
balance. And
Agreed.
once you find that, I feel like you can get to what you got to get.
Yeah, I think just again to that point, like since school is online and at home, I find myself on my desk all day. It's just not healthy, so I definitely recommend finding a balance.
Same here. I catch myself sitting at my desk all day. And then outside of work stuff, I still have to do stuff online, like pay your bills online or
Yeah,
Yeah.
check your emails and your personal life outside of work that's also online. So it's more screen time. I feel like we're having more screen time than ever.
yeah,
Just you have to find that healthy balance.
Yeah. I think it's like extremely important that we all kind of take out time to do things which are not necessarily in front of the screen. Like I've been the past few days, I've been trying to go on walks. So I live next to campus, and like we have a beautiful park in campus. So I've been trying to go to the campus for a walk every day. So it's kind of just important to go outside and get some fresh air, because you're not necessarily going to get that every time outside. Because like if you go to Texas right now at the moment, like things are pretty bad over there. So we
I
don't know what
agree.
can happen in the next few days.
And at least here in
Uh,
California, we were affected by the fires, and that was a good
yeah,
like burden that we were like, oh, we're stuck. We could barely go outside in general, and now it's kind of taken away from us by Mother Nature. So
Yeah.
we got to find our right times. Like I even
I-
noticed myself, like I'm like, oh, it's the sun's about to go down, but I got a little bit of work left, but I got to get out and go for a walk around the block for my mental health's sake.
exactly.
And I can finish work when I get home, after I finish that block walk.
Yeah, I think it's definitely important. Like you're putting your mental health first, and that's always like a priority. Like you need to make sure you do something for yourself. And like you mentioned the fires, like I know this was like right after I moved, everything was so bad in the Bay Area. And I just remember my sister, she really likes going on hikes, and it helps with her mental health. And
Mm-hmm.
she was just not feeling well, just because you can't go outside. So I definitely agree, like, especially during this time of the pandemic and Zoom, like if you can go outside safely for a walk at some point in the day, it's going to be beneficial for you.
Yeah,
100%.
I totally agree, especially like my job and doing what I do. And I'm a people person. I love interacting with people in person. I'm not a home, so I like to be out and about. Having to shift my whole lifestyle and my career and what I do for work, even like having to shift all that, that does take a toll on your mental health, and you have to find ways to have your healthy balance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So you kind of spoke about marketing earlier, like you kind of responsible for the marketing for the radio station and stuff. Can you talk more about that and like how you got into that aspect from like being an intern?
So when I was an intern, I was you're mostly working in the studio, but however, any other opportunities you have to kind of make time for it. I really loved and enjoyed doing the street team events, like just being out at a concert and talking to people, taking pictures, being the radio station street team wise. Outside of the DJs, the street team is your face of the radio station.
Right.
You're at a concert at SAP Center, which is the arena down in San Jose. You see the radio station tent. Oh, look, there goes 99.7 now. I'm gonna go check them out. Let's see what they have to give away. Let's see what I can take pictures. Let's see if I could even meet so and so the DJs. Just being part of that. I love just being part of a brand that, or many brands, radio brands that just put out for the culture, for the community, for the artists, for the fans. It's a fun part of being at the radio station. And marketing and promotions is also like the glue in between programming, which is the DJs, the people who kind of make the sound of the radio station. And
Right.
so sales are the people who are like who bring in the clients, the advertisers, the people. When we do a post up at Metro PCS, for example, Metro PCS is the client, and we're representing the radio station at their store, and just being part of that and just how everything kind of comes together it's such a fun, passionate way to be part of radio.
Yeah. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
Marketing promotions also is a lot of like the branding of the radio station, like the logos, anything you see that's like out there, like even like the billboards, like being like seeing that, like, oh, I was somewhat part of that. Like it's so cool I enjoy it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it's definitely awesome. Again, like I mentioned earlier, I remember just being excited to see, like, oh, 99.7's here. Let's go see who's there. And even just having like that little community, like I knew maybe like one or two people who would be there. So it would be super exciting to go and like say hi. So
And just getting to know people. Like I love meeting listeners and just you meet these people and we follow each other. We will seeing some of these listeners that I was in they were in high school when I was an intern, and now here they are in college or doing adulthood stuff. It's like such the coolest thing.
yeah.
And even just some of the listeners you'll see in everyday life. Like there's listeners I see just all the time. Like like, hey, but how do you know them? I met them as a listener at a tent setup. Like you never know how you impact your impact, even as a street team. You're still representing the station, you're still representing the brand. You're not the DJ, many of them do become DJs or other bigger roles in the radio station. You're still part of the brand, you're still representing the brand, and just being part of that it makes you feel like you're part of something big.
Yeah, honestly, kind of how like I reached out to you, and it's kind of just like full circle now from back 99.7, and now I'm doing like this podcast with Ankit, and I'm just like, okay, let's reach out to Alex and see if he can come on. So,
and then another part of market promotions that I really like too is just it kind of comes with bringing like the community stuff I do or community representation, like just doing something like Bits with the Morning Show. Hey, I'm out here at the corner of A Street Mission. First one to come find me wins this pair of tickets. Like something like that. Like I'm already out in the community doing what I love, and now bringing radio with it. It's fun.
yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. I remember seeing posts, it was like Find Alex or something, and you would be out there. I think that was a really cool way to engage everyone. So,
and it creates something, you know, I may not be your everyday DJ on the radio. I'm still part of the radio station. Still, I love how I'm bringing that radio station to that community. And it makes that community, of course, feel represented on the radio.
Yeah. I think just going off of this, do you have advice from someone who is interested in going into radio or even in like pop culture and music industry? And like following up with that, like where do you think they should start and what kind of mindset do you think they should have to, I guess, find success in the field?
I feel like if you want to get into media, radio in general, I highly recommend to take a class or two or take a few classes at your local college. Many colleges do have some kind of a broadcasting, journalism, mass communications classes. Get a good it gives you a good feel of what you're going to expect getting into the industry. Like a lot of the stuff I learned back at Chabot, it reflected back when I was an intern and beyond. You get a good feel and you develop that mindset that because when you come in radio, at least in radio, you come as a street teamer. When you're a street teamer, that's kind of like your entry in the door, besides an internship. And then as a street teamer, you can grow into more into promotions. You can grow into programming. You can even get into engineering, sales. Everyone that does a lot of these roles that you hear or see, or even behind the scenes in radio, start off as a street teamer. And I just feel like you have that good growth mindset and always be open to learn. I feel like you'll benefit and get further into the industry.
Do you think there's like a certain personality that you should have, or is it like, I'm just wondering, like, you know, there's like extroverts, and I'm assuming radio hosts are kind of more extroverted, and then like there's the introverts. This is just me generalizing, like, you know, so I'm just wondering about that.
I feel like if you're going to be on air, of course you should be extroverted because you're out there, but the behind the scenes stuff, it's a good mixture, everybody. I feel like everyone kind of has a little bit of an extrovert vibe to them. For the most part, I feel like you'll find your place. If you take some classes, you'll kind of get the vibe and you'll find your place once you grow in the industry. And also radio can take you off to other places too. It's like you're getting into radio, you don't have to just be in radio. You can grow and maybe go into more community oriented stuff or go into more other media outlets. I feel like it's a good avenue to get into that you can even expand and grow your wings into other places.
So like marketing and like radio and all of this is kind of just, it's a lot of putting yourself out there and kind of just like opening yourself for a lot of like not necessarily rejection, but like people not necessarily will receive it the way which you want it all the time. So how did you kind of overcome that aspect of, okay, is this good enough? Is this like okay kind of aspect?
Can you rephrase that again?
So like a lot of radio and like marketing is putting yourself out there and kind of just like opening yourself for a lot of criticism, not necessarily like not rejection as such, but like you don't necessarily expect it to work out the way which you want it to. And that's like,
Gotcha.
how do you kind of tackle that and like kind of keep your philosophy, like keeping yourself positive the entire time for that?
That's something actually I do think about a lot. Is what you put out there, especially with the internet these days, what you put out there and when you attach it with your brand, you really got to double think before you do anything.
Yeah.
One thing I do a lot with the radio station too is I contribute a lot with the social media, and like before I put a post out there, I got to always picture both sides of the picture. Like, is this going to get a lot of good reception, or is this going to get a lot of bad mixed comments? And then you have to monitor that, and you have to make sure that your brand is not going to go down because you posted something that's very not going to get a lot of good comments. So it didn't have the best thing, and you're going to post about that. I don't think that's going to get a lot of good feedback, and I really don't want our brand to be affiliated with that. rephrase that, or let me post something else. And the same goes with even what you say on the radio, like whatever you say, you're representing that. At the end of the day, you're representing that brand, that radio station. You don't want wrong information and it backlashes on either you and or the brand. You got to make sure that you're always kind of on your A game. You got to think twice and think ahead of how things will be perceived.
Yeah.
And then a lot to do with marketing. You got to think twice. Like, ooh, would listeners like that contest? Would listeners like that that perception that we're giving? You always got to make sure you double check and think twice before you do what you post, say, or do anything with that brand, or even your own social media. You have to, even with our own social media, we're kind of our own media outlets. So anything put out there, I want to make sure, is this what Alex wants to put out there? And I'm sure that's what you guys do with your social media too. Like, yeah, you're not going to get criticized because everyone's behind a keyboard right now, and you know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's kind of important to be aware of like what we put out there and kind of not necessarily censor it, but be careful of the information you're putting out there, because privacy is such a huge concern, especially with social media these days. So it's really like one has to be privy before just putting something out there.
Yeah, I was gonna just add, I know we've definitely had conversations about, just kind of being careful of what we're saying, and like we just want to help people with this podcast. So we don't really want, that's what we're trying to put out there. And then just additionally, my next question was, since this podcast is like a platform for people to learn about others and their career paths, also additionally, I learned from how they deal with their challenges and finding like new ways of thinking. What is kind of your life philosophy, or is there anything you want to put out there in the world for both your own followers and also our podcast listeners?
I say this kind of goes with everybody. Like, your life's one big adventure or a chapter book, and your career is a part of it. Like, your career is not everything about you, but it's something that represents you in a way. I feel like as long as you continue to invest in your life in those chapters, I feel like you can only grow from there, and always try to be positive and invest in yourself positively, and you grow from there.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
So what are some of the platforms where our listeners can reach out to you for further advice and kind of just like talk to you if they have any more questions?
So I try to be very interactive. The best way to reach out to me would be via social media. I'm on most platforms, Alex_Harmon, which is my first name _ my last name. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. You can find me on there. I'm sure I can send you guys a link.
Yeah, we'll share all the links for his social media as well as his LinkedIn on our description. So definitely follow Alex if you have any more questions for him.
And if you have any questions getting into radio, or you want to be curious about something about the radio station, feel free to reach out, DM me. I'm very interactive, and I love to talk about what I do with everybody. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for taking time for this today.
Thank you guys, and I appreciate you guys' platform, what you guys are doing for everybody.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.